Boredom is the test most people fail. Try this. Turn off your phone. No music, no scrolling, no messages. Just sit. Still. Silent. 10 minutes. Most people won't last 3. They'll fidget. They'll grab for stimulation, not because they're busy, but because they're scared. Scared of silence, scared of stillness, scared of their own mind when nothing is distracting them. And that's the real test. It's not about focus. It's not about productivity. It's about control, and most people don't have it. They blame the noise out there, the phone, the world, the chaos. But the truth is darker. They've never learned to sit alone, without performing, without escaping. Here's the paradox. Boredom is the arena where power is forged. Discipline, depth, clarity, and most people, they fail before it even begins. But you're still here, and that means you're ready to train. Why embracing boredom is the first discipline. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire in a time of war, famine, betrayal, and plague. And yet, before facing the chaos of the day, he did something radically simple. He sat in silence and wrote. No phone, no alerts, just thoughts laid bare on the page. Why? Because he understood something we've forgotten. The mind is not built in chaos, it's built in stillness. We want focus, we want discipline, but we skip the very ground it grows from: boredom. Because boredom reveals addiction to stimulation, to dopamine, to distraction masquerading as urgency. And the Stoics knew, if you can't sit still with yourself, you'll never sit strong in the world. This video isn't about productivity hacks, it's about mental warfare. And the battlefield is silence. We're going to rebuild your focus, not with hustle, but with stillness, through boredom. Because when you stop running from boredom, you start building something deeper than motivation. You build discipline that doesn't flinch. Let's break down how the Stoics trained it, and how you can turn boredom from an enemy into a weapon. 1. Boredom is a mirror, not an enemy. Boredom isn't the problem, it's the signal, and most people are too busy avoiding it to realize what it's trying to show them. The moment silence enters the room, they run, open TikTok, open Spotify, check the fridge, again, not because they're hungry, but because they can't sit with stillness. But here's what the Stoics understood. Boredom is not the enemy. It's a mirror. And if you can't look into it without flinching, you'll always be ruled by something outside of you. Marcus Aurelius dealt with monotony every single day. Military reports, Senate meetings, civil disputes. Yet instead of resenting the repetition, he used it. He used boredom to sharpen attention, to watch his mind without judgment, to train focus when nothing exciting was happening. Why? Because real discipline isn't built in intensity, it's built in repetition. The truth is, you don't hate boredom. You hate what it reveals: your dependence on stimulation, your fear of stillness, your fractured attention span. Try this. Next time you feel that restless itch, don't scratch it. Pause and ask, what am I trying to escape right now? You'll be surprised by the answer. Maybe it's loneliness. Maybe it's self-doubt. Maybe it's the silence that reminds you of everything you've been avoiding. And if you sit with it, just for a few minutes, you'll realize something powerful. Boredom isn't emptiness. It's a chance to meet yourself without distraction. Most people never do. They live on the surface, always stimulated, never still. And because of that, they never gain depth. But you're here because you want more than just dopamine hits. You want strength. So here's the Stoic truth. The ability to sit with boredom is the beginning of real power. Now that you've stopped running from it, Let's use that space to train the skill that most people have lost: focus. 2. Your focus muscle grows in silence. Let's get one thing straight. Focus is not a gift, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't train it, it atrophies. Most people say they can't focus, but what they really mean is they've never been forced to build it. See, our world rewards distraction. Notifications every 10 seconds, new tabs, background noise. We're trained to chase stimulation, not stay with one thing. But here's what the Stoics practiced. Silence isn't just peace, it's pressure. And under that pressure, the mind either scatters or strengthens. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations to entertain himself. He wrote to anchor his attention, to return his mind to what mattered, even when the empire was burning around him. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you stayed with one task, start to finish, without checking anything? No tabs, no music, no escape hatch, just you and the work. It probably felt impossible, not because the task was hard, but because your mind has been trained to escape the moment anything feels dull. But here's the power move. Dull is where strength begins. Try this. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Sit in complete silence. No phone, no movement, no multitasking, just stillness and your breath. You'll feel it immediately. The tension, the pull to do something. That's not weakness. That's your focus muscle twitching under pressure. Good. Stay there. Because every second you hold your attention, you're building resistance. You're rewiring your mind to stop needing dopamine and start building depth. At first, it feels pointless. But over time, that silence becomes sharp. It stops being empty and starts becoming your edge. This is how the Stoics trained focus, not through hacks, through habit, through silence, through showing up again and again when it's boring. So now that you've begun to train your focus, let's take it even further. What if you could choose boredom on purpose and use it like a weight at the gym? That's next. 3. Voluntary boredom equals mental resistance training. There's a simple Stoic principle that's deeply misunderstood today. Discomfort is not to be avoided. It's to be chosen strategically. That includes boredom. See, boredom isn't just an emotional state. It's mental resistance. And like any resistance, it can be trained. The Stoics had a term for this: voluntary discomfort. They would deliberately expose themselves to things that felt unpleasant: cold, hunger, solitude, repetition. Not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they knew that on the other side of discomfort was freedom. Now think about boredom the same way. It's uncomfortable, it's slow, it feels pointless. And that's exactly why it's powerful. Because when you choose boredom, not as an accident, but as a practice, you begin to recondition your mind to stop running every time things get quiet. Here's how to train it. Pick one boring task a day. It could be washing dishes, folding laundry, walking with no phone, organizing your desk. But here's the rule. Do it with full presence. No background noise, no rushing through it. Just you, the task, and the space between your thoughts. At first, your brain will resist. It will scream for a distraction. That's the workout, because if you can stay focused when it's boring, you'll be unstoppable when it matters. Voluntary boredom is not a punishment. It's practice for high-performance attention. And in a world addicted to novelty, practicing stillness is how you stand out. But why is boredom so hard to sit with? Because your brain has been trained to expect a reward every few seconds. Let's take back control of that system, starting with dopamine. 4. Reclaim dopamine. Delay the reward. Let's talk about what's really controlling your attention. It's not your phone, not the app, not the platform, it's dopamine, your brain's internal reward signal. Every time you check your phone, scroll through social media, or reach for a snack when bored, your brain gets a tiny hit of dopamine, and it loves it. But here's the catch. The more often you chase that hit, the harder it becomes to stay focused on anything that doesn't give you instant gratification. Reading a book feels slow, working on a project feels painful, sitting still feels unbearable. And that's where boredom becomes your reset button, because boredom is what happens when your brain isn't being fed dopamine. It's withdrawal. And if you can learn to sit with that feeling, without escaping it, you're retraining your mind to stop expecting constant rewards. This is where Stoic discipline comes in. Delay the reward, break the cycle, rebuild control. Here's how to practice it. When you get a message, wait 10 minutes before opening it. If you crave a snack out of boredom, drink water and sit still. When your hand reaches for your phone on impulse, stop, breathe and ask, "Why am I reaching?" These tiny acts of resistance might seem small, but they're rewiring your system. You're teaching your brain to become less reactive, less dependent, more focused. Because the man who delays the reward eventually becomes the man who controls the game. And once you've reclaimed control of your reward system, the next step is simple but powerful. Show up. With structure. No matter how you feel. Let's talk about that. 5. Train with time blocks, not mood. Here's a hard truth. If you only work when you feel like it, you'll rarely do anything meaningful. Because motivation is fragile. It fades. It lies. The Stoics never relied on moods. They relied on structure. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait to feel inspired before ruling an empire. He woke up, wrote, reflected, and acted every day. Why? Because discipline isn't about how you feel. It's about what you've committed to. If you want focus, you need containers, not willpower, not hype, time blocks. Here's the shift. Stop asking, "Do I feel ready?" Start saying, "At 9 a.m., I begin. At 10:30, I stop." No bargaining, no rescheduling. You show up like a professional, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. Try this practice. Block one 90-minute window each day. No distractions, no music, no multitasking, just deep work. Even if it sucks. Even if your brain begs for a break. By showing up consistently, you're doing something rare. You're training your mind to obey the schedule, not the emotion. That's where real Stoic power is built. Not in motivation, but in showing up when it's least appealing. So what happens when you embrace boredom, train through silence, and show up on schedule, no matter how you feel? That's when your focus becomes unshakable. Let's wrap this up. Boredom is where mastery begins. Let's be real. The world isn't getting quieter, it's getting louder, faster, and more demanding. But while everyone else is chasing the next hit of dopamine, you've chosen something different. You've chosen boredom, not as a punishment, but as a discipline. Let's recap what you've built. You stopped running from boredom and started listening to it. You trained focus, not by force, but by silence. You practiced voluntary discomfort to build mental resistance. You took control of your dopamine instead of letting it control you. And you built a schedule not based on mood, but on commitment. That's Stoic mastery in action. Because the ability to sit still, to work through the dull, to focus without needing to be entertained, that's what separates the average from the extraordinary. This isn't about becoming a machine, it's about becoming a force. One that doesn't break at the first sign of discomfort. One that doesn't flinch when things get quiet. one that doesn't wait to feel motivated to show up. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Confucius and boredom is where that war begins.